Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Hey, everybody, we're getting ready for Vegas, baby. Vegas, the Strip at Las Vegas, the penultimate race of the 2019 Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series season. That's right, 2 to go. And what we're going to do with this interview is dive into Pro Stock Motorcycle with a racer that's not in the countdown, because I think we've got to keep up on the interesting stories. The countdown is rolling. Everything is going good. It's Andrew Hines with the lead, but I want to talk to Steve Johnson. I want to hear what Steve Johnson has to say, in that he has had a really tough year, in that experienced the heartbreak of not being able to show up to multiple races for the first time in decades, this century, in fact, to a number one qualifier out there in Charlotte and running exceptionally well with a great shot at winning a race. And maybe he will win a race. And that's why we have to have him on. So Steve Johnson, just seconds away. And it is all brought to you by these great sponsors. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed with Samtech.edu. Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. Marvin Rodak, hot sauces and spice rubs. Everything good. Gourmet coffee, roasted fresh per your order. Drag racing themed blends of coffee. Just so great. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. FrankHawley.com. You can drive a dragster. You can do a burnout. You can stage it up. You can launch. You get 3 runs on the day. It's a great experience. Makes a great gift. MagicDryUS.com, the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. Whether you got a big shop or a little shop or a factory or an oil rig, MagicDryUS.com can help you out. They've even got spill kits for whatever your needs. And Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, TotalSeal.com. From Formula One to IndyCar to NASCAR to stock cars to drag racing to everything, Supercross, motocross, go-karts, whatever it is that needs a piston ring, Total Seal does the job. TotalSeal.com, made in America. Big thanks to Total Seal for stepping up on board. And Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed with Samtech.edu. All right, let's get into it. Joining us now, he's been making a lot of noise in Pro Stock Motorcycle. He's got one of the quickest bikes he's had in a long time and got 2 races remaining to get the job done. Joining us now, Steve Johnson. Steve, welcome back to WFO. How are you?
I'm great, and the noise is not a tractor. It's a 4-cylinder, 14,000 RPM revving Suzuki Pro Stock, 400 horsepower, normally aspirated, dual overhead cam racing engine that's making the noise.
I know, making a lot of noise, and I love it. What I'm particularly interested, here we are in the countdown, right? And everybody's talking about championship, right? And all of that stuff. And I want to go against the grain a little bit. That's the natural order of things, and I support it. But at the same time, here we have a well-known racer who's been around for a long time, who has got a interesting story in that you broke a very long, many years / decades streak of showing up to races to reevaluate your program, and you did, and you came back stronger than you have been in several years. I know Alan Reinhardt had you up on the stage at pre-race, and you brought a couple of details, visual props, if you will. And I feel like this is a story that we've got to dig down on, Steve, because whatever you did, it worked. So what'd you do?
Wow, it's well, I watched the TV show, and they said that I stumbled onto something.
Blindly in the dark.
Yeah. I was walking down the street, and I tripped over a piece of paper, and when I looked at it, it said, you ought to change the lash. You ought to close up the lash on number 3 intake valve. So, wow, I guess that's stumbling across. We've been working. We in 2006, 5, all that kind of 2003, in those early years, you're talking about longevity. I thought I was rich because I had some sponsorship, and so I invested in a shop, and we have some tools here, and so I'm learning more. I'm learning more about how to use the tools. And Jock, when he wants to know something, he's 20. He's in his 20s, so he busts out his phone and gets on YouTube. And I am not the YouTube guy, so I'll call racers and learn And we started applying the things that we were learning on YouTube and what I was learning, and we, gosh darn, we fixed our broken engine, broke a crank, and we didn't have any other engine, so we went home, and it broke. The last time we missed a race, Ronald Reagan was president, so we hadn't missed a race in 30 something years. Been to every single race for a pro stock motorcycle, and many of the other ones too. Just love the sport, and it's such a great opportunity to go out there. Lots of friends, and you learn stuff the more you get involved, and it's our career path. It's what I talk to young people about. This is a skilled trade, and there's so many different ones here, and so I support it wholeheartedly by participation.
But take me to that moment, though. The great comeback stories have to start off with heartbreak somewhere in there. And when you realized you weren't going to be able to go to the race, right? And you have been, gutting it out, doing it with less, making it happen, grinding it out for many years. And there have been races that you've showed up and had a quick bike. And, something weird would happen. It would hop out of gear or whatever. You've won some races. You've won big races. But when the reality hits you, like, we're not going to be able to make this race. We're going to not be able to go. The streak is going to end. It's over, at least for that moment. That had to be tough.
Yeah, that was miserable. That was Norwalk. And the Baders have, Bill Bader's got just a phenomenal crew, a great race, and I love Norwalk, and I just loved all the races. But when we were trying to put the engine together, and it broke again, you know what? Actually, I think we had it ready to go, and we were so confident. I don't think it broke. We were so confident that when I'll tell you. Answering your question, I want to back up just a tiny bit, just so I answer your question, so your listeners know exactly the emotion. It's Tuesday, and we have a plan. Okay, we're going to finish this up, and Wednesday we're going to go go a little bit early, and it'd be an easy drive up there. And Thursday set up. So Wednesday didn't happen because we had problems. So it's Thursday. So you know what? We'll leave Thursday. So then Thursday. Now it's Friday. The engines. We're struggling. I don't have any pocket. I don't have any clearance between my valve and my piston pocket, and so I'm trying to mill this on. I don't have a CNC machine, so it's kind of slow. It's slow over here with a Bridgeport. So, then it's like, you know what? We are so confident. I am so confident that this will be fine. We're going to load up Friday. And we're going to drive up there all night Friday, and we'll make 2 runs on Saturday, and we'll be in the show. And then all of a sudden, I think it broke. So it's like, wow, I guess the streak is over. So it was, to answer your question, it was depressing, but it wasn't until the last minute. I mean, you're supposed to withdraw from a race. I didn't know how to withdraw.
Wow.
I didn't know what that was about. So, I called, I got some cell numbers of people, and I called the NHRA and told them I'm not gonna make it. And I kept telling Buggy, who parks people, I'm coming, we're coming. And then Norwalk turned into Denver, and it's like, wow, we're going to go all the way to Denver and test this engine. And then it didn't happen. And then Sonoma, I had a sponsor in Sonoma that we were supposed to go see. And I called him up and I said, look, here's my deal. I'll come out there. It's my commitment. That's my promise that I made. And, but we're not going to Denver. And, he says, hey man, if you don't need to come to Sonoma, you're all good. You're good with me. And boy, having sponsors that have some compassion is really nice. The ones that don't have some corporate agenda that, has to be fulfilled. So we didn't make Sonoma either, and then we and this was every day in the shop. So fixing pistons and trying to wrist pins and crankshafts. I mean, the crankshaft broke after 33 runs, and so I'm like trying to figure out what the oiling problem is, and days of reenacting what was going on, trying to be Dick Tracy, and That's kind of the answer, I guess, to your question.
Yeah.
That kind of took you to the point to where it was miserable. But I did watch on NHRA TV. I watched every single round. It was weird. It was weird watching it. It was weird. Yeah.
A good experience, though, like an experience that, when you look back, like the way I'm taking it is that, you would have never chosen to do this, right? But the way you're running right now, you would have never chosen this, but it looks like because it happened, you were put in a situation that you had time to go through and do all the stuff that you said, and I believe that you are maybe going to reap the benefits very soon.
Yeah, that's a great outlook, and we didn't know it at the time, but we knew we were just trying to fix our stuff and get back to racing. And so when Indy showed up and we went to Indy, we had the same package in Indy as we did in Charlotte. In Charlotte, we qualified number one, and it was awesome. But it took a while for it to, spread its wings, so to speak, and for us to tune it and understand and not make mistakes. And the riders are, that's what's so cool about our sport. It's hard to understand how good the competitors are from home. And I knew because I was a competitor, but for our fans, it's they really are getting a great piece of entertainment. I just wish we could do a better job of showing them what goes on in the seat, what goes on on the motorcycle driving, or like Larry Dixon driving a 300-mile-an-hour top fuel dragster. I mean, there's a lot going on in a short amount of time. Where I always think of Caps in a funny car, turning the wheel back and forth and force on fire. These things are exciting, and when you do it perfect, you get a great ET. And if you miss a little tiny something, a shift point, it shows up in the ET slip. So that's where I think we got better is after Indy, I started working on my riding more.
Wow. Well, I think I agree with you completely in that we have a challenge to explain to someone who's never sat in a race car how hard it is. You watch somebody like ride a bull, and you don't really need an explanation because it's pretty obvious. You don't want to get stepped on by the bull or gored or anything like that. But these things fight back too. And it's just hard for people to understand. I recently had an experience just warming up a Pro Stock car, and that tiny bit of insight helped expand my understanding greatly. It's just, we can't put every fan on a car or on a bike, and that's why we got to just be creative with our vocabulary. So when you came back out, man, bike's running great. Number one qualifier. Have yet to get a win, but going deep in the rounds, factoring into the countdown, taking out racers that are in the countdown. What is that experience like for you, being a strong competitor with nothing to lose, really, right? You're just out there to wreck some shop and turn on win lights. That's kind of got to be a free, fun feeling.
Well, I've never, apparently with the media, it's the spoiler and all the terms that go on in the countdown. There's great terms and stuff. I've never been a fan of the terminology because I'm going out there to do the best I can. Jock's going out there to do the best he can, and the sponsors are relying on that. And my fan base, my mom, I finally got my mom sent in her entry and her $12, and so I'm up to 13 fans. So I got 13 fans that expect me to do good or want me to do good. It's not going out there to be a spoiler. So it's not the greatest subject matter to talk about, but we're going out there to try to win, and it is really exciting to go out there. And when we won second round in Reading, that's when it really started sinking in a little bit. It's like, wow, our bike's good. And then I think we raced Matt, and we raced Hector Jr. in the second round and beat him, and then raced Matt Smith, the professional, in the semis, and then raced Jerry in the final, and it went a 680, and that was my career best. And I didn't realize it was a career best because we lost in the final, and it's so hard to get to a final. So when you get to a final, you want to win, you expect to win, and we didn't. So, but then when we were driving back, I was like, wow, our bike ran good. And then St. Louis, same kind of thing. We were number one qualifier in Friday night session, and then Matt Smith went real good Saturday morning and took the number one away. And then Charlotte was one of the funnest things I think I've done in our career, to qualify number one in Q3 and then leave and get on a plane to fly to Baltimore and go to my sponsor's daughter's wedding. And he's introducing me as, Steve was number one. They're like, when? He's like, right now. And they're like, what do you mean right now? And he says, well, he was in Charlotte 2 hours ago. So that was really, really cool. And we got our first green hat. So, there were never any green hats when we were number one qualifier in years past. So, and Jock, for your people that are listening, he's got dreads and he does not wear a hat. And he wore this green hat. It looks so funny on him because he wore it really high on his head. But he, being a 20-year-old and having something that cool that you can't go out and buy necessarily. He loved it, and I loved him wearing it. I was watching it all night long from FaceTime to pictures on Instagram and Twitter and stuff.
That is great, and it's so great to hear the positive side of the story, right? The comeback and all of that. And I don't know, man, the spoiler role, I get what you're saying, but that's not really how I'm positioning it. It's more like you're on your own program for these next two races, and that's where I'm at right now. All right, the last two races, though, Andrew Hines has kind of been a spoiler for you in that you've outrun him twice, and he's left on you twice. And so now you got the bike. No. This is hard-hitting interview, Steve. Hard-hitting interview. You got the bike now, which means it's back on you.
Yep, and it was, oh, my gosh, when I raced him in Charlotte, I think, and lost did I lose in the second round or the semis?
St. Louis, you lost to him in the semis. He goes 0-15. I don't have Charlotte up, and I know last week you guys ran the second round.
Yeah, and I was 60 or some horrible, and I really struggled. And but when this interview was a third of the way through, or so to speak, I was talking about how important the rider is, and I had just gotten away. Larry Dixon told me about 2 years ago. He says, for 30 years, you've never had any accountability. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, you come back and you've missed a shift point. You have a bad light. You weren't sitting on the bike. You didn't get into the second part of the seat. You, whatever it may have been, you don't have any accountability. Nobody makes perfect runs time after time after time. So he says, when you don't do something good, you don't have any accountability. And it really taught me a lot. He was 100% right. He's really way better of a racer than I ever knew. And he knows engines and all that. And I never really knew that side of him. We're best friends, but I never really knew, all those years with Don Verdome, he helped Terry McMullen with his chassis, in the off season. And Terry McMullen was running so good at the start of the season. But anyway, so point is, I messed up against Andrew, had a bad light, and I'm trying to fix that. And my lights are definitely getting better. And then raced Andrew again in Dallas, and he was all I had to do was have a 30 light. He had a 34 or 35 or 30 something, I think. And I had an 083, but what the announcers didn't say is, when I put my bike on the two-step, the air gap was all gone, and the bike lunged forward. So I definitely had an 083. That's what's on paper, and that's what you get. But it wasn't because I was I was just having a bad light. I floored it when all the stage lights were on, and the bike lunged forward, and then I squeezed the clutch even harder, and it released the clutch, and then the light was yellow, and I'm letting go of the clutch. So with all that going on, clearly I'm going to be a lot slower than Andrew, and then my motorcycle had a problem with it too. So it was meant to be that Andrew was going to win that round. But if one of those things wouldn't have happened, we would have definitely won that round, if you're allowed to say that.
Yes, well, of course, you can say whatever you want, which brings us to, like I understand, he went in 92, you went in 88, even with all those problems, right? And so I want
Right, and it was yeah, and for the fans, the days, for a normally aspirated engine, the fuel guys, you don't ever see that because they change head gaskets and they do whatever they do to lean on the power adder. But for pro stock, I mean, when a pro stock car goes slower, or the field goes slower, typically the motorcycles are going to go slower, and that's the atmospheric conditions change. So they're getting hotter, and it was getting more humid, and so it slowed down. I think we qualified with an 83, which we were so proud. I was more proud of that 83 than the 786, which was the 687, whatever it was, 687 in Charlotte, because I didn't have a chance to enjoy that one, and the 683 moved us from number 12 or something all the way up to number 3 in Dallas, and I was so darn proud of that. But the weather got worse on Sunday, and we started slowing down. But the bike was still good, but some stuff broke on my engine and the motorcycle, and it slowed down. Otherwise, even with that horrible light, I felt like we still would have won.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, so Alan Reinhardt had you up on the pre-race stage, and you brought looked like a chain, what I saw, the prop, but not prop, but a visual example. But he mentioned then afterwards that you had said up there, and I admit I did not get to hear the whole thing because I was preparing for my own responsibilities, but that you learned, and to summarize, that the details matter, right? Like, that the details really matter. And can you cite some examples of something that maybe you didn't focus on and now you are?
Oh my God! Well, yeah. Now, some examples would be lash, your valve lash. So when you're doing cam timing, if your valve if you're trying to open a valve at 20 degrees, and you change the lash. We have 2,000ths difference in shims. So we'll have a shim that will give you 8,000ths of clearance, 6,000ths of clearance, or 10,000ths of clearance. So if you change that lash just 2,000ths, the engine's still going to run fine, but the valve's opening at a different number now. And so when you're trying to trap the charge in your combustion in your cylinders, that extra degree can have a difference between X power and Y power, sure. Meaning more power or less power. And so I didn't realize that. That's a little detail that I didn't know. I don't know. I guess you probably know it, or I don't know. Everybody else knows it, but I sure didn't know it.
Wow.
So that's one example.
Now that was what was on the paper that you found when you were stumbling around with the blindfold on? You announcers, we would be nothing without announcers. We would really be nothing. But as a competitor,
there's a new announcer with NHRA. The voice of NHRA on the TV side is
Brian.
Is Brian, and Tony's the guy, the driver, and now they even have Lee Beard in there, which it really elevates the show, I think. And but a couple of times somebody said on the TV show, "Wow, I guess broccoli's not helping him cut a light." And then I had the problem in Dallas, and they made some kind of comment, and then it was like all this work. They say, "Oh, we stumbled onto something," and I realized that we got to have tougher skin and stuff. But I'll tell you guys out there that are listening, I'm changing my voice because I want you to understand this.
Serious voice. Here we go.
I want everybody to, if you get a chance to lean into the radio a little bit more, your computer, however you're listening, this is the deal. If you're not happy with the money, if you're not happy with your relationship, if you're not happy with your job, whatever it is, it's up to us to figure it out. Nobody in life's gonna just hand it to you. I guess your wife would, or your husband, or somebody's supposed to help you, but at the end of the day, you got to figure it out yourself. And there's so much information out there right now. So you got to analyze the problem, or at least identify it, and then find a solution. And then by all means, celebrate the results, because those are three simple things that love, happiness, children, education, racing a pro stock motorcycle, it works. It really, really does work. It's painful. And this is the other thing that I think is really cool. The more pain that you get, the more you're going to remember it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Of course.
So this whole process for me, what is so cool is it's my intellectual property now. And that's what I tell kids at the schools. You don't have a 20-year career with AT&T. You haven't been an engineer all your life. You can't put all this down on a resume, but you have an intellectual property that you've learned from this tech school or high school or your teacher or whatever. And that's what you have as a value. And that's what we have as human beings. And so for me to use this intellectual property, this stuff that I'm learning, nobody's going to take it from me. It's mine. So if I can use it to my motorcycle, I'm sharing it with Jock. He's learning. We're getting better, and the motorcycle's better. So, at the end of the day, you can't let little things bother you. Like when the guy says, "Did you stumble across it?" That whole thing with Matt Smith, he's kookier than a $3 bill. It's like, how does he judge people? And so he judged so many people in our class that our Vance and Hines engines weren't good. And I'm like, that's so disrespectful to Vance and Hines. And I'm not trying to get off on a tangent on that, but it's so important that we, again, analyze the situation. There was this situation. We were slow, and we needed to look at some details, and we did.
Can I jump in there?
And now,
I just want to jump in because, that was an interesting thing. And obviously, Tony and those guys, they're choosing words in real time, and it's a very great challenge. Just like riding the bike, you want to explain like how hard it is. And my pro stock experience, like, oh my gosh, man, this is really hard to be in the booth where Brian or even Alan Reinhardt or even myself doing an interview with Jock on the starting line, right? You got to like pick all the right words, and it's got to come out great. Otherwise you look like a moron.
Oh, it's so hard.
Which
yeah,
happens
you guys have a crazy hard job.
Our job is definitely the hardest in all of the NHRA, but that's a different story. But I want to talk about the Matt Smith thing since you brought it up, though. But wasn't he? Everybody has trouble communicating, right? Like we all listen to each other, and if it's not perfect, then we go off the rails a little bit. Didn't he say exactly what was the truth, though? Which was that when you guys dug deeper into your program, you would be able to find more performance, which you did.
Well, you can have the greatest cheeseburger in the world. It's got every single sauce and condiment in the planet on it, and they stick an onion in there, and it's horrible. Well, okay, it's just one onion. Well, with Matt Smith, eventually he's going to say something that's gonna be the onion in life, and the onion hit me, and
right.
I'm not really sticking up for the fact that he said all these things were right. He has an opinion about that stuff. My point is that he was judging. He was putting us in a box, and that it's different to have an opinion. And I'm really at the point to where he did point out a lot of stuff. At the end of the day, my fans will hate this, but he's a great racer. He's won 3 championships. I don't have a championship in NHRA. I mean, I want him to be. He's such a face in our sport, and especially our category, that I just want him to be a superstar. And when he says something, much like an announcer, he has a little bit more of a time to be able to think about what he's saying. There's and that's where the announcer thing's a little bit harder. And as a champion, you got to be in a little bit higher category, and to judge these people, and especially our engine program and our engine supplier, that's I just it's kind of like the spoiler thing. I think he should concentrate more on what he can do for his program rather than pointing fingers at our program and saying that the NHRA has a knee-jerk reaction and they made a bad decision in changing the rules. Well, that was the whole point of his deal is you wouldn't need to change the rules if the Suzuki guys did any work.
Right. But and I like, I'm just kind of sorting it all out, and I think the greatest analogy that could possibly have been made is when you say the onion on the burger, like the pickle, right? Like, there are people who can't stand pickles, and it could be the greatest burger on the planet. Go to Smith & Wollensky, and you get this, like, it's $20, and it's Kobe beef, and it's amazing. But if there's a pickle on it, you used onion, I'm using pickle because I got friends that hate pickles, right? But it goes right to my soul. Like, I know, man, I've seen the visceral reaction to that. And so his comment got you there. Here we are, like 6 months later, and it still bugs you a little bit. But at the same time, you're on a Suzuki, and now, Jerry and Karen and you have got pretty much the quickest bikes.
Yeah, they're I don't know what happened with the other guys with the Harleys or the Buells, but because I don't know, I'm not working on those, and I know what we have and what we're doing and where we're going, and it really is exciting. It's a different chapter, and that's what's so cool about what I was saying about analyzing. Man, when you don't make any money and then you start analyzing your situation, wow, I'm not getting up early, so I'm not punching the clock early enough, or right. I'm not. I don't tell my wife that I love her enough in a sincere, fantastic way, and then take her out on a date. It's like, wow, all of a sudden I analyzed that I did this, and look at the results. She's happier, and look how much happier we both are. So I did the same thing with my engine program. I made sure there's no onions. I analyzed the burger. I analyzed the bun. I analyzed the tomato and the lettuce and the sauce, and I made it the best I possibly could. And I'm to be blunt, I'm really happy. I'm proud. I'm proud because we joke about picking up our bike at the Hobby Lobby shop, but Jock and I, I've been at my house is 15 minutes away from my shop, and on a fast day I can get here in 12 minutes. But I've been I was 8 days never going home because I worked literally every single day, and I fell asleep at the shop in my chair. And then I laid down on the couch, and then I woke up in the next morning, and, this is 4:00 in the morning. 2 nights ago, it was 4. I went to bed in the tractor trailer, and the tractor, it's got a sleeper in the back of it. It's parked outside. We need space. It's freezing out here, and I couldn't find the darn heater. And so I pull 3 comforters over me. I sleep for 3 hours. I wake up at 7, and I go back to work again. So it's like everybody works hard. I analyzed, I come up with a solution, and I'm enjoying it. And that's all I wanted people to understand is Jock and I are working just as hard as everybody else, and we're really not stopping at the hobby shop picking stuff up.
No, I get what you're saying. All right, so all that, I think that's a very dramatic lead into these final couple questions. There's 2 races to go, Steve, and you know how performance is. It comes and it goes, right? Like, just because you got it now doesn't mean you'll have it in Gainesville. Who knows what will happen in the offseason. So, but right now, though, you have a bike that can win, and you've got 2 races to do it. And so, what about that? Vegas, Pomona.
Well, Vegas is such a wild card because I really would have liked to have gone to Denver this year. I feel like the competition's got a nice advantage because they were at Denver, and you get to deal with some of that atmosphere. And so I have no idea what our engine's going to do in Las Vegas. They say it's halfway to Denver or something like that. So I'm really going to be challenged with leaving the line and doing all the things, but we've wanted to have 2 engines all year. We keep breaking the second engine, so we're bringing it, and I'm going to work on it in the trailer. Hey fans, I'm pointing at you now. Before they said, "How's your bike running?" And I said, "Well, it runs good." They said, "What are the lanes like?" And I said, "I don't know nothing about the lanes, but I can tell you the shrimp cocktail and the Winston Suite's awesome." And so now we don't leave the trailer. Dave Schultz, if you know the name Dave Schultz, he never used to leave his trailer, and I understand that because you're just working all the time. I'm excited with the other engine if it holds together. So if we can go to Las Vegas and make a good run in Q1, and there'd be nothing awesomer than to do good in Vegas. But winning Pomona, that's a home race. I've been in the finals one time there, I think with John Myers, but all my friends are coming and they've seen our little performance. We have the smallest trailer in the pits. They tell me you don't race trailers. It's a 22 foot trailer, and but I'm proud as heck of it because we save every penny we save in insurance from running that tractor trailer and a truck driver and all the maintenance that it needs. Every bit of that's going into our motorcycle, and I didn't even cover that. This learning experience is extremely painful financially. So, I kind of supported all the outcome of that pain. You can't take what I've learned from me because I'm going to remember this, but it definitely is painful, and that's what's going to be exciting. If we can do good at these last 2 races, I'm going to have a great story to say at the PRI show and at the SEMA show, Apex show, and in all the presentations that I do at high schools. But most importantly, I'll be able to really have something to pitch to new sponsors and tell them how great and advancing our sport is, and our team at the same time advancing with it.
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to have you on WFO, Steve, because I know that you're you're in your own little universe having a story and a moment where if you can convert a victory in these last 2 races, everything that you have gone through will have totally been worth it. It's already worth it, but you will have ended the story on a high note, right? You got to have that big end of the story, the big finish, and the big finish would be Steve Johnson holding a Wally in 2019. Steve, thank you very much for coming on the show, giving us the details. You mentioned the trailer. There's a whole story unto itself. We can handle it another time, but you kind of backed off. Like, do you need a tractor trailer? Do you have to have a giant thing? Obviously not. You're running out of a regular, tag-along box trailer, and you're doing pretty well. If you were to get a Wally, that would be a big deal with a dually.
Yeah, it's just a Duramax and a small trailer, but it's like but we're still going to get onions on our burgers. Okay, it's still going to happen. There's still going to be challenges. I'm going to have more challenges. People listening, they're going to have challenges, but we as humans, we live in America. We have the greatest country. We have such opportunities. And if you have health, if you take care of your body and you have a positive mind, you have a great attitude, so many things can be possible. Mine is obviously chasing Mellow Yellow and the NHRA deal and trying to help Jock in his passion and also young people with skilled trades. That's what I love to do. Get a hold of me if you have a high school or a tech school that you want students to learn about marketing their brand after the diploma. But whatever you're doing, I love inspiring people. Inspire, don't judge. And your show gives us a platform to say that. You do I love when you interview all the winners. I listen to all those shows. You interview the winners. Sometimes, like after the semis, there's some downtime, and you interview the comp guys and the girls that have won super stock and alcohol and just all those classes. I love those interviews and the guys that are animated versus the guys that are just real quiet and just barely say anything. It's really, really cool to see people's success. to talk about their success, and you do a great job of letting us talk about that.
Thank you, Steve. And you're the first person to say that you like the interviews where the person doesn't talk, but I kind of like them too, right? Because that's a character, that's that person's character. Like if they're going to give me a one-word answer, I'm going to try to, pry a couple of more words out of them, but I get it, right? Not everybody is a talker, right? And they won nonetheless, and they accomplished their goal. And thank you for saying that, because that is, for me, one of the most fun things that I get to do is to speak with that parade of champions. And I really wish we could, have a little more time to do it, but we got 5 Mellow Yellow final rounds coming up, and we just don't know. Sometimes they're long, sometimes they're short, but I appreciate the fact that you mentioned it here. Good luck.
And I watch it. I encourage everybody, if they don't have NHRA TV, it's a great way to follow drag race. If you're really a fan, it's a great way to follow it. You get all the behind-the-scenes stuff of going on, and there's so many little idiosyncrasies that go on, and you get to watch Jason and you and everybody chatting. It's just and then you get to watch all the action. So it's a great way to enjoy our sport. And when somebody's happy, it's always fun, because you learn and you can get excited and motivated from people that are happy, and we definitely have lots of them in our sport.
Amen to that. So true. Steve, good luck this weekend. I'll see you out there, and I think you and I will both be without costume based on time restrictions, et cetera, and so on, but we'll enjoy everybody else's Halloween. It'll be a lot of fun, and I wish you great luck. Go get a win.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. There he goes, Steve Johnson, with us here on WFO Radio. Steve is obviously a character. We talk about it all the time. I love getting him in this setting. This is my favorite setting because, meaning it's long form, right? Like Steve being corralled into 1 minute is really challenging. And I relate to that. I know that. That's me also. Being able to get my best thought into 1 minute is challenging. I've always been like a long-form idea-creating, storytelling talk show host. And I get that's where he's coming, giving analogies. How about the burger? I totally get it. Every once in a while, there can be one thing. It's an ancillary thing. It's not really even critical to the creation of the overall product, but it just gets your goat. And when I said pickle, I got friends that I love pickles. I think they're great. On a burger, on a salad, just awesome. But I get what he's coming from, and I get what he's saying right there. So that is all good news. And thanks to Steve for coming on the show. And wouldn't it be interesting if he goes out there to Pomona and wins the race and holds up the trophy? And we have got this great conversation to think of. Thanks to the folks at Total Seal Piston Rings for doing it. We have just got our first episode of Total Seal in the can, meaning Jason Line and Keith Jones from Total Seal, hardcore geek out session on the importance of piston rings. So if you're like an engine guy or a tech guy, you're going to want to hear that when it comes out. Stay tuned. Stick around. MagicDryUS.com, the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. That is MagicDryUS.com. They're on board with Palmer. They're on board with everybody. If you've got a shop, even for your house, MagicDryUS.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, one of our oldest, longest sponsors. And we really appreciate them because they have created a way for you, our listeners, to go and experience and enjoy the thrill of driving a dragster. Just like Steve said, and just like I said when I started up that Pro Stocker. Oh, boy, everybody's doing a really bad job of explaining how great this is. And that's what driving a dragster is like. And there's only one way you're going to get that experience, and it's to drive one. And there's things you could do. I guess you could go, kick around the track and see if you could pay some racer. I bet you it's going to be a lot more expensive than what Frank's got figured for you. Show up with nothing, race throughout the day, multiple runs, debrief sessions, burnouts, etc. And plus you can do it with a group. The Dragster Adventure at FrankHawley.com, or just get a license. You could do that too. Go all the way. Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com, hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. Marvin Rodak, our great friend from Fort Worth, Texas. If you're going to get a barbecue grill, if you live in Texas, you need to swing by Rodak's storefront/shop. It's great stuff. Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. And, of course, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. The Final Factory Stock Podcast is up. If you have not heard the Final Factory Stock Podcast of the season with Drew Skillman and Chris Holbrook and Brian Massengill, it is great. But really, the whole exercise is for the younger people, I would say 40 and below, if you want a career in engine building, if you want to become a machinist, this is something that you can't replace. the foundational knowledge, number one, but also the network that you're going to be connected in. And it depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to be in, I don't know, you go to Yale, whatever it is you want to be in. You got to go to Yale, right? If you want to be an engine builder, if you want to be a CNC machinist, if you want to be a machinist, motorsport, EFI, knowledgeable / tuner, Samtech. Kind of analogy right there. Samtech.edu. And that is going to do it. It has been a great week. We're headed to Vegas early. And it's going to be wild. If you're going to be out there, by all means, the Ignition Show will get you there. A lot of fun on the Ignition Show. And then we kind of ran out of gas late in the going. And when Gio starts to attack me about, hurting a child with a football, it got a little sideways. But it happens to everybody. So check out WFO, subscribe, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, get after it. And thanks to Steve Johnson, and thanks to everyone else who joined us on this week's shows. WFO, everybody. See you in Vegas.
Vegas, baby, Vegas! WFO!
The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, engine builders, Total Seal piston rings are the leader in ring seal technology, and they go out of their way to help their customers and will make custom sets for any specific piston you might have. Customer service, top notch. Made in America? Absolutely. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got everything it takes to develop the world's best piston rings. Give them a call at 800-874-2753 or go to TotalSeal.com.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com, order it today. All natural product, made out of coconuts, 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA fan, cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
You've been listening to WFO Radio for a long time now, and you hear these racers all talking about how much they spend, how much they travel, how hard they work, all to accelerate really, really quickly. Well, Frank Hawley and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School has figured a way for you to do it at a fraction of the price, the work, the effort, the time. It is a fun experience. It's called the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com and investigate. No ride along. You drive it. You are the driver. It's called the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more and tell them you heard it on WFO.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job. I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
This is WFO Radio.